Antonio Taveri potentially within touching distance of that particular leadership, albeit it's the battle for red that really engages them. Taveri we just caught sight of, just motioning and gesturing to one of his teammates to come up and around him and support him, so he's remaining in command and in control and marshalling the troops for a young man in what's a relatively new situation for him. Seems confident.
Yeah, it was only half an hour ago this man here at the front, Josh Starling, was doing over 500 watts in the flats, and he's ripping up this climb with the young Norwegian here at Oxenberg, 5:17, so not a threat in the general classification, but trying to win the stage. But this gap coming down under a minute now, under the impetus of UAE Team Emirates. But Dan Hurler, well, he did this job on the climb of the Jebel Mobra. He set a tempo early on in the climb. That's the rider in second place, moving over onto this team. Felix Gall, he's in fourth place now, Caruso just behind him. But you know, this is setting up nicely, but the speed they're going up here is, you know, they could be setting one of the records here, because they're going up here at some pace.
Yeah, the wind, such as it is, I mean, they're switching back left and right, so it will be coming across them, but the sort of prevailing wind is behind the riders, and that could contribute to a very fast pace indeed. Few riders starting to pull faces in the towards the front of that still large lead group, down to the final 8k, and this, as you mentioned, is where things start to just ramp up, and we'll be heading towards that 8% gradient. This group will quickly thin out when that happens. Big push on here from the Decathlon CGM team. This is for Felix Gall, 8th overall, starting the day.
Yeah, he headed out early on Wednesday. Not too sure he'll be doing exactly the same thing. Might want to kind of rethink about it, but let's see, there's a lot of people just sitting and waiting, and you know, I really do think that UAE Team Emirates have to continue this pace.
Mühlberger there to assist. Steinhauser knows this climb as well. He's with the EF Education Easy Post squad, but he's a rider who does know the hill, and he'll want to represent for the pink hordes. Meanwhile, the orange and whites.
And grey.
And grey, yeah. Looking pretty good, looking in control. I mean, you sort of think if he puts out 500 watts, he's a big man, isn't he? 194 centimetres. I mean, he's on the 500 watt mark after what? 3.5, 4 hours of racing. That's terrific stuff from Josh Tarling. Barely looks as if he's broken sweat. I can tell you, this is a huge effort. Impressive work too done by Oxenberg. The slipstream effect much reduced by the gradient here, yet he seems almost as one with his teammate here. Metronomic progress up this mountain. Mühlberger starting to show the effects. Well, Caruso starting to show the effects. The Italian veteran on the wheel of his teammate Felix Gall there. And now the press on. Are they managing to separate? No, because Taveri is going to stay lined up in fourth place at the moment, and Del Toro it is who's on the wheel of the overall race leader. And that's an interesting scenario. Taveri, rather than tracking Del Toro, happy enough just to take the wheel of his teammate and remain ahead of his GC rivals. Felix Gall among them.
Yeah, just see coming back from the breakaway, Bissica dousing of the bidon on the head. This looks like it's setting up for an attack here again from Felix Gall. A lot of riders being distanced now, so this is getting harder and harder as we go further up this climb. Kelderman, after his crash, unfortunately not able to assist Nordhagen for any longer on the climb, and not too many yellow jerseys ahead of him. This is quickly thinning out. George Bennett, the New Zealand champion, among those feeling the gradient now as it really starts to grip, and this one is going to run and run almost to the final. As you say, 2.5 kilometres is where final opportunity to make a difference, and Adam Yates just dropping off the tail of Isaac Del Toro there. Tejada, mindful of the danger really, just races straight up onto the UAE Team Emirates back wheel, the rider's back wheel, as indeed does Leonard van Eetveld in the white jersey, just behind the blue jersey of Tejada. Just looking at full of concentration for Tiberi now. This is a strong press from Mühlberger, and you're right, Adam Yates just, you know, letting the wheel go. I think he will come back. I think he's playing the game more than anything else. So I think, you know, we're now starting to see the GC contenders really kind of fight this one out. And I think maybe letting the wheel go, because it looks as if Evenepoel, he's got Fisher Black in front of him, and there's a big gap now appearing in front of them.
Somewhat surprised to see Pablo Castillo dropping away, not on his A form at the moment. It's a big clump of riders that are sort of separating into Class B here, because these are the A-list contenders, all 5 of them. And it's now down to Felix Gall to do what he can for himself. They're about to overhaul the breakaway group. It's Tarling continued to lead Oxenberg, and chapeau, congratulations to the Ineos Grenadiers duo as they go for a little bit of a promenade. Gall doesn't want to lead them all up the hill. He'd maybe like to attack, and where are we going to see? What's the first response going to be? Could be momentary reprieve for the breakaway, or are we going to see an attack fired from behind? Tiberi also snaking around, and it's so easy for a touch of wheels as riders are looking around, and these little easing off of the pedals can actually prove very difficult indeed.
Well, Fisher Black has brought Evenepoel back, so it's just because they were kind of looking at each other. That was set up for Felix Gall doing exactly the same in what he did in Gibber Mobra, but it's come to no avail, and he's cropped on the front, and nobody's taken up the pace. So Tiberi, he's pretty much, I think, on his own. Eulalio, I think, was already dropped. I cannot see Caruso in this group either. So this is suiting a lot of riders. It's not as hard, and I think that, you know, there's not enough teammates here for certain riders, and I don't think it'll be long before we see someone have a go.
An attack, and why not try and launch something? And yeah, it is Remco Evenepoel, 11th overall, as Evenepoel goes to see can he stretch this one. Antonio Tiberi mindful of the ability of, but is that a case of just staying towards the front, and he doesn't, like you say, he doesn't need to follow that one.
Doesn't have to chase Evenepoel down. He's well down in the general classification. He's not going to make that time up in 6 kilometres. G comes through front, followed by Del Toro, but a mistake there for Tiberi. He could have just let others go for that bit.
I mean, it's overall race leadership in a major World Tour race, relatively new. It's a very new thing.
It's a big test for him. It's a big test for him. But at the moment, G's on the front. I think Del Toro's just waiting. You see him in the middle of the picture, Tejada. Tiberi, I think for me, just has to play the waiting game. Just follow the riders he has to follow.
Oxenberg from the break, who's just decided that this is an opportunity maybe to last a little bit longer. Tarling, of course, just sort of literally almost rode off the side of the road, didn't he, just to try and recover a little bit with the gradient. And this is now the attack and this separation that decathlon we're looking for.
Well, there's riders coming back now all the time. Now Adam Yates is doing what I thought he would do. He's now setting the tempo, and he's just, Del Toro's just sitting and waiting. I think it might be a case of waiting to where Adam Yates pounced before to win this stage in the past. It might be that steep part with 11%, but we're not there until another just over 2 kilometres time. But for the moment anyway, Felix Gall, he's got a little bit of freedom. Tejada looks around there, I don't think he's going to get any help, but Adam Yates just riding strongly at the front, and it's just a matter of time now before we see, you know, the explosive effort from Del Toro.
Yeah, Tejada played a canny game, didn't he, to finish 4th on day 3. He starts the day 3rd overall, precisely 1 minute down on Antonio Tiberi. No obvious immediate response from Tiberi as we approach the 5.7, heading towards the final 5k of this stage. Not quite at the halfway point, but they've put quite a bit of it behind them at this point. Adam Yates in control at the front of the group of favourites, and it is Del Toro, his teammates, the Mexican champion, on his wheel, but that man immediately behind in red has the 21-second advantage. So Del Toro has to push that red jersey further down the road. Derek G. West, the white jersey with the red sleeves, the Canadian champion, starting the day 7th overall, will be a little bit concerned to see Felix Gall, 8th overall, just starting to open up a little bit of an advantage. Tejada will be grateful, I think, for the fact that he's been given a little bit of separation from that group of favourites, and it's Felix Gall that's doing all the work at the moment. So canny game being played by Tejada. Will he contribute?
Well, I don't think he's doing it at the moment anyway. I think Evenepoel just pulling out the wheel now. Just as we thought that, you know, Evenepoel may have a major say in this, it doesn't look likely. So he's pulled out the wheel. Nobody has got any teammates at all. Most of the general classification riders are alone here. So the only person who's got a teammate is in fact Del Toro, and that's Adam Yates, who's riding at the front.
How key is he going to be, the British rider, Englishman from Bury in Northern England? Remco Evenepoel, minor recovery there, slots back in onto Ilan van Wilder's wheel. Belgians flirting with the back of this group, but is the pace such that it might be to close down Felix Gall? And Harold Tejada, and more particularly, will it allow the group coming up from behind? Well, Remco Evenepoel just can't follow this pace, and it's a little bit of concern really for the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe rider, albeit it's right at the very beginning of his relationship with that team. It's quite a long way now to the major. Oh, rider's down as that Van Wilder has just hit the deck, yeah. And that can happen. You know, a little bit of a touch of wheel, riders not maybe at the maximum level of intensity, or maybe it's a little bit more. He was just so on the limit that mistakes can easily happen, and that's frustrating for Ilan van Wilder, the Soudal Quick-Step rider, starting the day 6th overall. Let's get a look at this again.
He just
touched the wheel.
I think it's just a slight bump there, movement from Tobias Johannesson in front, and just a slight touch of the wheel. I think he was more, and you know, just with the bumping together with the Visma Leasebike rider there, it just took his eye off the wheel in front, and unfortunately Nordhagen, you know, that kind of bumping together from him. He touched the wheel, but luckily I think the surface there to try and get back.
Yeah, from the second group on the road, Junior Lesurf immediately available, another man who knows this hill well. And meanwhile, they've opened up a few more seconds of an advantage, and Felix Gall is a really, really accomplished breakaway rider. He's a really accomplished climber at Grand Tour level, as indeed is this man. Adam Yates at his work, out of the saddle. He knows exactly what to do and how to do it on this climb. Adam Yates approaching 400 watts altogether. More built for climbing. And Isaac Del Toro looking as if he's in command of his effort. How much of an effort indeed is being made now to try and pace Van Wilder back into position. Looks like Dunbar just in front, and that's the chase. Oh, here we go. Here's the attack. Tiberi straight on it. Del Toro's gone, and Del Toro has brought the overall race leader with him. Isaac Del Toro has gone for glory here. Adam Yates made the signal, and Del Toro has launched, and now Antonio Tiberi finds himself moving ahead of Harold Tejada, straight up onto the wheel of the stage leader Felix Gall. Will either of those be able to stay with them, because Del Toro is not for waiting here. Straight past Gall, who looks across, indeed looks behind as if to say, that's not for me. Tiberi, though, looks okay at the moment, but how much of this can he handle?
He's on his limit. You can see him grimacing. He's absolutely on his limit. Any more acceleration here from Del Toro, and I think Tiberi has to may go. You still have to get to the steepest part of this climb, but I think Del Toro has got Tiberi on the ropes.
And he's weaving around to try and break Antonio Tiberi's will, and indeed break the slipstream. And Tiberi is inch by inch, centimetre by centimetre, dropping back. He's a couple of bike lengths. He slumps back into the saddle, but he continues to resist this effort. Slight easing at the gradient would allow Tiberi back in, and he's just there, but he's only just barely there. And this is a titanic scrap, and Del Toro's not for easing up just yet. Del Toro continues to press on the pedals, but Tiberi, I think, might have been saved ever so slightly by the gradient there. Still 3.5 to go, and probably another kilometre of the really, really demanding gradient of this climb for Isaac Del Toro to do what he can to unseat Antonio Tiberi.
I know he's in the red jersey, but he has to really watch he doesn't stay in the red too long when it comes to, you know, what he's got left in the tank here. And that was a telling sign. So he lost the wheel, come back. That'll help his confidence a little bit. But you can see just the way, you know, his body was, the facial expressions, that he was under the cosh there. He's come back once. We haven't even hit the hardest part of this climb, but Del Toro, he's not going to give up.
Yeah, and he hasn't eased up just yet, has he? Because Felix Gal and friends are not quite able to get on terms. Support for Del Toro and Tiberi. One-on-one for glory today. Felix Gal third on the mountain, moving up on GC, and mindful that he's got to get to the back to the front pretty quickly before this one goes again.
Del Toro is going to go again. As soon as we come round this corner, I think Del Toro will go. And again, I think Tiberi will be distanced. He's on the ropes. I look back here, and I think this is where Adam Yates went, and he's already given that information to Del Toro. So I think round this hairpin, on the steepest part of the climb, we're going to see Del Toro accelerate again.
Well, the rider in white has to try and find 21 extra seconds. That's the advantage that the rider in red, the overall race leader, Antonio Tiberi, carries into this mountain. Felix Gal starting the day 8th at 1 minute and 28 seconds down on GC. Has a bit to find, but potentially can.
Played him well, Clark. Really well.
And that is impressive
back
stuff.
to the front.
Luke Plapp is moving up. Luke Plapp starting the day 5th and managing his effort absolutely perfectly. The Jaco Alula rider in purple.
Yeah, I think Del Toro, he has to go now. If he's got anything left in the tank, he has to go now. This is the steepest part of the climb now. It does ease off with about 2 kilometres to go. That's where I think Tiberi needs to get to. It's going to be very difficult to get rid of him there. He has to go now, but you have to say, wow,
what about this from Luke Plapp?
Back.
Didn't panic, has not really been involved much on the climb to this point, but starting the day in 5th overall at 1 minute and 19 seconds, potentially moving up into a podium position, potentially going to challenge for stage honours here, and Del Toro will look around, get a signal that if Plapp is coming back, that it's now or never really to try and really push on. Through this hairpin, the gradient becomes a little bit more challenging. Route around the road just to, and here we go, there's the attack. Will Tiberi be able to answer the challenge? He knows it's coming, and he slumps back in the saddle really quickly. Is that because he's finding it no problem to stay on top of the cadence, or because he's finding it very difficult indeed? He dips his head. That's a bad signal. A couple of bike lengths opened up by Isaac Del Toro, and he's starting to race clear. And Antonio Tiberi now is in a solo race to try and stay on terms with Isaac Del Toro. One-on-one for glory here, and it's advantage to the Mexican at the moment. But Tiberi, of course, with that 21-second advantage starting the day. There are bonus seconds on the finish line as well to be considered. But it's Isaac Del Toro that's opened up the advantage and is racing clear. Is he racing to glory?
Well, it looks like that at the moment anyway. I think Del Toro has got the bit between his teeth. That was the hardest part of the climb. Now it's over. Now it's man against man. Will he get any help from Luke Plapp? We'll have to kind of wait and see now, because Luke Plapp goes straight past him. You can see that Del Toro eased ever so slightly, and then bang, went again. Now he can put the hammer down. This is where you can make the difference. But can he make the difference? And Luke Plapp is now in a position to even take bonuses away from Tiberi. So Del Toro only needs 11 seconds if he wins the stage, but of course he eases up, he's waiting for Tiberi, and it looks as if the two of them are going to work together.
Yeah, that's what's required here. The gradient eases just as as everything eased there a little bit, but it's not easy right now for Antonio Tiberi, because he's seeing Isaac Del Toro scarper off up the road. Remember, 22 seconds, that's a race-winning advantage already for Isaac Del Toro. Can he hold it all the way to the line? Remember, 10, 6 and 4 bonus seconds on the lines, a potential net 4 minimum gain by Isaac Del Toro in bonuses, plus the advantage on the road. He's got everything he needs right now, and Tiberi has really invested to stay with Del Toro, and now he can't even stay with Luke Plapp. And Luke Plapp, the only man I think who can prevent Isaac Del Toro from taking stage honours today, and I'm not sure anything can prevent Isaac Del Toro from taking the overall race victory. What a week indeed it's been. Fortunes ebbing and flowing on the mountain on day 3. Isaac Del Toro, after his extraordinary stage 1 success against the sprinters on the rising road to the Libra Planis, has had a slightly more difficult day on the time trial bike the following day against this man, Antonio Tiberi. And then on day 3, Tiberi timing his run to absolute perfection. Isaac Del Toro with a wonderful recovery ride to second on the Jebel Mobra, and Jebel Hafid proving to be a much happier hunting ground for the UAE Team Emirates XRG man, as his shoulders rock and he's humping the pedals to great effect. Still 1,300 metres to the line. That advantage now down to 21 seconds, but that's over well, no, soon 21 seconds to the red jersey there. So 21 seconds back to Taberi. Is he really able to respond? Could he perhaps potentially be stemming the flow and coming back in? Body language doesn't look good though, as Felix Gal comes past.
Yeah, we saw this in the women's race. Casa Neil Mendola tried to go with Longo Borghini and cracked a little bit and went back through the field. The same has happened with Taberi. I thought in Mobra that he really rode to his numbers and did a fantastic job. Today, I think he tried to go with Del Toro twice and went into the red too much, and it just, his legs have gone. He's gone backwards. This man here is not just riding to the stage victory, he's riding to lead this race.
Yeah, and riding towards defence of the title for the UAE team. Of course, Tadej Pogacar having being currently the reigning champion, about to crown, by the looks of things, Isaac Del Toro, albeit of course we've got another stage tomorrow, the final stage. One is built for the sprinters. Out of the saddle, he knows he needs to make as much as he possibly can, up to half a minute. And Antonio Taberi finding a rearguard action indeed to even protect his second place on overall general classification. He's in a world of hurt, as Isaac Del Toro. He's in pain too, but it's an altogether more manageable pain, because he knows that is the pain of glory and victory that he is enduring right now. And he settles himself in for another push and another potential important victory in a career that is burgeoning and developing, and a palmares that is positively bulging already for a rider just 22 years of age.
Well, at Mowbray, this man here was in control. He's now not in control at all of his own destiny, because he tried to go with Del Toro, who's on a better day today than he was on Wednesday. So looks as if he's going to be leading this race by what?
Isaac Del Toro into the final moments of this sixth stage of the UAE Tour, and out of the saddle once again, just to ensure that he's maximising his advantage, heading towards a second victory of the week, a second stage success, and with it the overall race leadership. It's Isaac Del Toro through the final bend, approaching the finish line. He even has time for a celebration. It's glory for Isaac Del Toro for Mexico and for the UAE Team Emirates XRG squad. He takes the stage victory. The stopwatch is going to be a cruel one for Antonio Taberi. Second across the lines, a fine performance for Luke Platt. That's going to improve his situation on GC, as indeed it will for Felix Gal, who's going to be third on the day and scoop the final bonus seconds as we await the arrival of Antonio Taberi, who, remember, started the day 21 seconds up. He's crossing the line 30 seconds, 31 seconds down, with the bonus seconds as well to add. Holland, Nordhagen and the rest cruise across the line. Derek G. West there, also in a fine top 10 position, but it's Isaac Del Toro that's celebrating.
More riders reaching the line now. David Dildu, Michael Storer.
Well, what about that? Expected that something special might be in prospect from Isaac Del Toro. Remco Evenepoel is through and across the line, relatively anonymous top 20 finishing position for the Belgian rider.
Well, Del Toro was one of the favourites coming in here with Evenepoel, and he surely delivered today. Much better day than he was before. Evenepoel's already finished just in front of Dunbar, but Adam Yates comes across. He had a big say on this, and I think it was just experience on the climb, because Del Toro went in almost exactly the same places Adam Yates went when he won this stage and won this overall. So what a great ending to today's stage today, but unfortunately for Taberi, he lost the lead.
Yeah, brave effort, brave resistance indeed. Fourth on the day. Isaac Del Toro taking the glory, his 23rd professional victory. 12 seconds in front of Luke Plapp, Gal Taberi, twice Alan Fine fifth for him, Nordhagen G. Harold Tejada starting the day third, could be slipping out of that one. Gaudu and Storer all performing with great distinction on a challenging final climb of the week. And this was the key moment when he finally said bye-bye to Antonio Taberni, who'd worked so hard to resist the first sustained effort from Isaac Del Toro, who had done a long time that.
This is what you do when you got your rival going. You have to make a reaction, and he reacted twice. Possibly those two reactions killed his legs, and it's hard to say at the time, but you knew that was coming. You knew Del Toro was going to be a big burst in. Maybe measure that, because he done, and Gerald Mowbray, he judged his performance to perfection. Today it was a different story.
We reckon that Antonio Taberni's hanging on to his second place overall, albeit now sitting 20 seconds in arrears with just one stage remaining. Luke Blapp up onto the podium with that fine second place on the day. Tejada down one, Felix Gall moved up from 8th to 5th, Leonard van Eytveld down 4th to 6th. Derek G maintaining position in the top 7. Jürgen Nordhagen up 1 to 8th. Tobias Halland also moving up 1 place, and Remco Evenepoel actually up and into the top 10. There's your GC situation, just as I've outlined it. It is a 20-second advantage for Isaac Del Toro. 41-second flip there between those two riders, swapping positions in GC, and Luke Blapp up and onto the podium ahead of Tejada, Gall, Van Eytveld and the rest. Isaac Del Toro has put it together absolutely perfectly. At no point was he behind on this one, and in the right position. 2 sustained attacks. The second one finally broke the will of Antonio Taberni, and he's got the overall race lead.
Isaac, this morning, were you really confident that you would win today, or were you just trying to convince yourself that you would?
We want to believe as a team that I was convinced to win today.
How did you do it?
This is just a mentality game that you try to be confident enough to keep trying, and of course if one time it doesn't work, you need to still have in the head that you're able to do it. No? So today we are not confident that we'll win, but we were with a mentality that we will work for it.
How did your confidence improve after you attacked the second time with 2.5 kilometers to go?
No, it comes down. It's 2.5 k to go. It's like, now I need to keep going until the line, and just when I see the gap, I try to believe and to suffer until the line and increase the gap as much as I can.
This is your 23rd professional victory. Does it feel like a big one right now?
I think today is one of the top 3 victories in my career. It's so special. When you win with a team like this, it's even more special, no? But now it's time to realize that I'm working for it and that I need to believe more in myself day by day.
Thank you.
Thank you to you.
Yeah, the confidence is starting to